Okay, we have a story trailer for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. I am immensely hyped. So this video it's completely unscripted. I just want to share some of my thoughts and put forth a couple of theories as to what I think is going to happen. So let's just jump right into it.
Peggy 16.
Miquella the Kind spoke of the beginning. The seduction and the betrayal. An affair from which gold arose. And so too was Shadow born. What followed?
All right, let's pause it there, because there is so much to unpack in just this opening scene. First of all, I want to talk about the music. The music choice is the Elden Beast theme, as I'm sure many, if not all of you, recognized, if you at least finished the base game. And I think that is quite an interesting choice. I don't recognize the rest of the music. I think it's new. At least the end part is definitely new. I love that melody, that section. And I just think that was an interesting choice because I think it corroborates my theory that Marika is the greater will, as I discussed much more in depth in my last video. But the idea is that Marika is an avatar, or is the latest avatar or the latest aspect of the greater will acting within the lands between. And I think that is using that musical piece, that piece that was reserved for the most divine encounter that we have in the entire game, is just very fitting and somewhat corroborates my theory. So go check that out if you want. I still hold to that theory, at least until I'm proven wrong. But let's move on back to the trailer. I think it's interesting that this is clearly Marika. This is her bracelet. We've seen this before. But these larger ends to it, it reminds me almost of a snake. And that's quite interesting. As we know, in the base game, snakes are a symbol of blasphemy, and they are opposed to the Golden Order. The gladiators would wear snakes to be killed by crucible knights and whatever things in the Colosseum. And excuse me, I just find that fascinating that it kind of looks like a snake. Obviously, it ties Marika to Messmer. Further, at least, we already know that they're connected based on Messmer's dialogue that was shared in the first trailer. But then we see her reaching into this sack that's clearly reminiscent of a vaginal opening. And what does she do?
Seduction and the betrayal.
She pulls out this tiny golden seed. And there's this, I thought it was slime, but it appears to be hair, which is just also really gross, but quite intriguing. We see maybe a pregnant belly or an egg, and maybe we can see that, like, here's where it's severed, just behind the hemming of this fabric. So I don't know what this is, but I am going with the theory that this is a womb, and she is pulling this golden seed out of the womb. Now, I've seen lots of people speculate that this is godskin material, godskin clothing. I don't think that's the case. It's not the same texture. The Godskin's attire is very shiny, pearlescent almost, and like the hemming on that is a distinct darkened gold. It's not this light stitching. I can understand why people would think that though, because they're like it looks kind of like rotted flesh, but it could just be blood spatters, and I mean there's blood everywhere in this scene. So that's not very surprising to me. Continuing that line of thought, we see America ascending these flesh-covered steps.
An affair from which gold arose.
And here she is granting power, obtaining power from this little seed that she acquired just then. And here we see a golden sky, which is very interesting compared to the next shot right here.
And
Oops.
so too was shadow.
Right here, the golden sky through this crevice, but over on the sides we have this pale lavender sky, the color of gloam, which honestly was not even a color I knew about until I played Elden Ring. But sure, it's kind of like the color of a twilight sky, of like dusk. So putting all these ideas together, also there are these fleshy bodies, this mound of fleshy bodies that are just bloody and pulpy. Putting all those together, I've seen a lot of people speculate that it is in fact the Gloam-eyed Queen that Marika took this seed from. And maybe that's the case. We don't really know much of anything yet. However, I don't think so. I do not think that is the Gloam-eyed Queen. I know people are just hungering for Gloam-eyed Queen content. I don't think that is it for a couple reasons. For one, it says in the Godskin Apostle and the Godslayer Greatsword descriptions that Malekith defeated her personally. And where's Malekith? Maybe he's just off screen. Maybe he went to go take a nap. I don't know. But he's clearly not like in this image. So I don't think that's the Gloam-eyed Queen because of that reason. But also, when she was defeated is when they sealed away the Rune of Death. So I don't think that's what's happening here either. Malekith sealed the Rune of Death in his blade, the famous black blade that we can get. And that's not what's happening here. Marika seems to be drawing power from it or imbuing power into whatever this little seed is, which I happen to believe is the first seed of the Erdtree, perhaps a seed of the Elden Ring or the Elden Ring itself, as the Erdtree and the Elden Ring are intrinsically linked. But I don't think what's happening here is the sealing of destined death. I think that happened later in the timeline. The other thing is this mountain of corpses. Like, yeah, they are skinned, kind of. Like, there's no flesh, like, there's no skin on them. But they're also just, like, flesh everywhere. I don't really see that as very compelling. They look more like the flesh that, like, Rykard, like, vomits up on the blasphemous blade. And I'm not saying the Rykard has anything to do with this, but that's what it reminds me more of. Plus, the Godskin skinned, like, the gods. Maybe they skinned other people, too. But, like, the skinning, like, slaying the gods was their their thing. Especially if they were ruling this place. I'm not convinced that they would just amass all of these corpses. What I think is happening here is I think that this is the end of the story. That the narrator is telling the end of the story that Miquella was interested in, why he came to the land of shadow. I think this is the birth of the Erdtree. And that this mountain of corpses, which has a strikingly tree-like shape, is the crucible of life, where all things were melted together. I believe it says the primordial form of the Erdtree. And to add to that, this opening where we can see into this realm of gold, possibly the lands between, it reminds me of the opening that we passed through on the Erdtree. There's like a stone door that's been broken away, and through that door we see Radagon's thorns that we must burn the Erdtree to access. That's what this kind of reminds me of. It's not the exact shape, but all those together that tells me that is what is happening here. America has already defeated the previous Elden god and taken this seed of the Erdtree or the Elden Ring. And here is when she becomes the next avatar, the next aspect of the greater will, and births the Erdtree. So, that was a whole lot in just the first 44 seconds, but let's continue.
What followed was a war unseen. One that could never be put to song. A purge without grace or honor. The tyranny of Messmer's flame.
All right, let's talk about that section. And then, okay, I do want to go back to this. I want to listen to the narration again real quick.
And so too was Shadow born. And so too was Shadow born.
So too was Shadow born.
What followed was a war unseen.
So followed was a war unseen. So that could be disproving my theory that America creating the Erdtree is the end of the story. It could seem like this is telling us that happened and then followed a war unseen. But I don't know if the narrator is directly describing the events that we are seeing. Like, obviously, it's describing an affair, a seduction, the birth of gold and of shadow. And what follows is this war. So I don't know if that disproves my theory. Let me know in the comments if you think so. But anyway, I just wanted to make note of that. So here we see the forces of Messmer destroying the city. See these wicker men, soldiers.
One that could never be put to song.
Oops, let me go back. Where are you? There you go. These soldiers have a tree insignia on their helmets, which is interesting if there's no Erdtree yet, but, perhaps the Crucible still took the form of a tree, which, would make sense according to my theory here. But we see that they are slaying these omen creatures.
A purge without grace or honor.
And here we obviously see that Messmer is the one who is leading the charge with these flame snakes, which are just so cool. I love this character. Flame drakes, I don't know, they have little wings. I don't know.
The tyranny of Messmer's flame.
And this character, I've seen a lot of speculation about this character. Like, is this character Melina? And I assume that's because she's on fire. But again, no, I don't think that's the case. I think that looks like a woman figure, that she is on fire because everything around her is also on fire. And I think that's it. She's holding this interesting spear, and if we zoom in, like this woman is malnourished. This is a, no offense to skinny people out there. I'm very skinny too, but like that does not look like Melina, in my opinion. She's holding this spear. I've also seen people say that, is this the Glowmide Queen? Because maybe this looks kind of like the Godskin Peeler or even the Godslayer Greatsword, and that's just clearly not the case. Those weapons look very different. It does have a helical shape, so maybe there's some relation, at least symbolically. But I think we're just going to move on from that. I think this is a new character that we've never seen before, if it is a character at all, and not just a sad, depressing image. Oh. There we see the Lion Dancer attacking the soldiers, so we know that the Lion Dancers are not a part of the Scourge, the Purge, and that it truly is a war against all of these Crucible-like creatures led by Messmer, who we know is associated with Marika. So we can assume that it is Marika who is ordering this purge, causing this to happen. We know from his dialogue in this trailer that Messmer is her son, or we can assume, we can gleam. Nah, that's a cool shot. Where are my subtitles? No, they're unavailable. That's too bad. Anyways, so mother, would thou's lordship sanction one bereft of light? So clearly he's talking to Marika, and they are purging these people of these lands. In my theory, to get to the Crucible so that she may claim the Elden Ring, become a god, and grow her version of the Crucible, the Erdtree. This enemy design is fantastic. This is one of my favorite enemy designs I think I have ever seen. Like, what a great idea. Oh, it's so sick. And he's just like... Anyway, we see several of the Lion Dancers have been impaled. That's clearly what these are. We can see the omens that make up the Lion Dancers. And Messmer is pointing his spear up. And we see he's pointing straight at the Shadow Tree, but not just the Shadow Tree. Right here. Now, if we zoom in, I'm sorry this is not high definition. I'm wrestling with OBS. throughout this whole video, this is the third time I've recorded this video. So, but go look it up in 4K and look at this part of the video. To me, it looks like a woman who is crucified. Like, we can see her breasts, we can see her head off leaning to the side, her arms and her legs, they're kind of twisting. It reminds me very much of the Twisted One from Blasphemous. And she seems to be channeling this golden sap from this original Erdtree, I'll call it, because it's more like the Erdtree that we know, with this secondary tree, like grasping it almost. Looks like a claw. Anyway, I just thought that detail was interesting to me. Let me know if you think it also looks like a woman. I should add on to that. Is it America? I don't know. And I think that it's not, because I think that what we saw in the beginning happens at the end of this timeline. But I could be totally wrong. I would say this is either the current god of this age, dripping sap down bounty as America did, or this is America. And this is how she would deliver sap to the people, her life-giving sap of the Erdtree. Either way, incredible imagery.
And so kindly Miquella would abandon everything.
This music is so good. So good.
His golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate.
And if there was any doubt in your mind that Saint Trina is Miquella, I think we can put it to rest now. The narrator is referencing Miquella. We're shown this feminine figure. It's covered in purple, the color of sleep. There's these petals forming, which form when you use the sleep magic. This is clearly Saint Trina, while the narrator is referencing Miquella. I think that's as close as we're going to get. That they are, in fact, the same.
But we are not deterred.
I just want to point out this imagery. It's like almost like the ground is burning. There's like little sparks, but it also looks kind of like hair. So I don't know what's up with that. But it's awesome. And it's clearly the our new sites of grace that we'll be finding.
We choose to follow. Will you walk with us?
Epic. Let's just return to this shot. So we have all these characters. We saw most of them in the previous trailer. Here's our jump kicking dude. We got this guy who was throwing the giant bombs. This character was doing pretty much the exact same thing as they are in this picture. This person looks new. Perhaps this is the narrator. She seems to be a leader. She's leading them. She's kneeling. These are clearly Miquella's disciples. They say they are following Miquella, and will we join them? Which we know is the whole point of this DLC, is to follow Miquella's footsteps. So based on that knowledge, I'm sure that they will all have a very happy ending, in that Miquella is just a real great guy that will have no conflicting values, right? I think that's how this is gonna go. No, no. I think that they will all die or repent, and I think Miquella is up to something. You know, he is notorious for just compelling love and affection. That is apparent by all the descriptions of all these people. But I would just love nothing more than to see a giant red health bar appear with Miquella the Unalloyed above it. Ugh, it would be so good. I mean, it would be sad, but maybe it wouldn't. We don't know what he's going to do. There is still so much to learn. I also just wanted to point out in this shot, this is like present day, clearly, not during the war, because these are the people that we will be interacting with. And there's like, you know, that spot of the Erdtree right there, the shadow tree that I thought looked like a lady. And up here, this looks kind of golden. So perhaps there was like one Erdtree that's the crucible, and America grew another around it. I'm just completely going off the cuff here. But since it does have this appearance, it does make me question my theory that this section happens at the end of the narrative, of the backstory narrative. Since we do have this image of Messmer pointing up at this golden figure. But maybe I'm completely off base, and this is no one. And maybe I'm completely off base, and that this did happen before everything. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. But we are at the end of this video. So, thank you very much for watching. I know this was very rushed, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there. I have another video that is fully scripted that I am just moments away from publishing. So if you like this video, please like it. Again, leave comments if you agree or disagree or just want to chat about something. And subscribe, because I got a lot more content, not just on Elden Ring. I will have a lot more about that, especially once Shadow of the Erdtree comes out. But also several other games that I have scripts in the works for. So thank you for sticking around to this amateurish, unscripted video. And hopefully I will see you next time.